Karl Schmidt Rottluff. B. Rottluff, 1884, D. Berlin, 1976. A school friend of Heckel's, and an original member of Die Brucke, Karl Schmidt Rottluff suggested the name for the group of artists. Initially, he concentrated on landscape, and was influenced by the passion of Van Gogh and the brilliant color of Fauvism. By 1912, he was painting in an expressive, angular manner that reflected his admiration for African art. He moved to Berlin in 1911 with the Brucke Group, and it was at his suggestion that the Brucke Museum was founded in Berlin in 1964. Pensive Woman. The patterned dress emphasizes the nakedness of the woman's upper body, as she cradles her face in her hands, deep in thought. 1912, Oil on Canvas, Brucke Museum, Berlin, Germany. Kathe Kollwitz. B. Königsberg, 1867, D. Moerites Burg, 1945. Trained in Munich and Berlin, Kathe Kollwitz chose to devote herself to drawing and printmaking. Vehemently opposed to the social conditions she witnessed in the poorest quarters of Berlin, where she lived and worked alongside her doctor husband, she placed the oppressed at the center of her Kathe Kollwitz work. In numerous drawings and prints, she portrayed both their personal tragedy and their suffering. She visited the Soviet Union in 1927, deeply concerned with women's rights. She contributed drawings to a society protecting unmarried mothers. In 1913, she helped found Berlin's Women's Art Union. Though she was opposed to Nazism, the regime did not declare her work degenerate, but used it to promote their own cause, having first removed her name. Lifeline. 1867 born Kathe Schmidt, in what is now Kaliningrad, Russia. 1885 enrolls at Women's Academy Berlin. 1891 marries Drive Karl Kollwitz, and has two sons Peter and Hans. 1909 takes up sculpture after a visit to Rodin's studio in 1904. 1919-33 is the first female professor at the Prussian Academy. Death seizing a woman, a mother clings to her child to save it from death. Kollwitz lost a son in World War I and often saw death and despair in her husband's surgery. 1934, lithograph print, private collection. March of the Weavers. This etching is the fourth of 6 in a series entitled A Weaver's Revolt, and was based on the social drama The Weavers, 1892, by German author Gerhard Hauptmann. It depicts an uprising of Silesian workers during a famine in 1844-1897, etching. 27 by 36 centimeters, Stadtmuseum, Munich, Germany. CLOS Luke. Revolt. This is not an image of workers resigned to their fate, but of insurrectionary weavers armed with picks and axes. Kollwitz captures their grim determination in the gaunt and furrowed expressions. The Berlin Salon jury wanted to award her the gold medal, but they were forbidden by Kaiser Wilhelm II. Ernst Barlach. B. Wedel, near Hamburg, 1870, D. Rostock, 1938. After pursuing art studies in Hamburg and Dresden, Ernst Barlach attended the Académie Julian in Paris from 1895 to 1896. A trip to Russia in 1906 persuaded him to take up sculpture, his theme on his return being Russia's overburdened rural poor. In 1907, Barlach's financial position was secured when the art dealer Paul Cassirer started paying an annual fee for his work. Also a novelist and playwright, Barlach published his first play, The Dead Day, in 1912, accompanied by a collection of his prints. The Avenger. Barlach's sculpture has a highly expressive inner force and represents the might of the German army during World War I. 1917 bronze, height 43 centimeters, private collection. Wilhelm Lehmbruck. B. Duisburg, 1881, D. Berlin, 1919. After completing a course in decorative arts, Lehmbruck attended Dusseldorf's Academy of Fine Arts from 1901 to 1907. As a young man, his ideas were shaped by the literature of left-leaning writers such as Émile Zola and by Kathe Kollwitz's highly political art. Stylistically, he was influenced by Rodin, see pages 356-57, and Gothic art, and by his contact with Matisse and Brancusi, whom he met on a visit to Paris in 1910. In 1911, he made Kneeling Woman, which was singled out for praise at an exhibition in Cologne the following year. With his reputation enhanced, a book was published about him in 1913, and he had one-man show in Paris. During World War I, he worked in a hospital for the wounded and found the experience deeply disturbing. He committed suicide in 1919, leaving behind 4 children. Lifeline. 1881, born the son of a miner in German industrial heartland. 1901 to 2007, studies at the Dusseldorf Academy. 1904, impressed by Rodin retrospective in Dusseldorf. 1910, visited Paris and meets Matisse and Brancusi. 1919, dies in Berlin. The Prayer. This sculpture of a naked girl wrapped in prayer is both sensual and serene. Like a statue on a Gothic cathedral, her angular form suggests the heaven-bound direction of her thoughts. 1918, stone, 83 by 51 by 34 centimeters, Kunsthal, Hamburg, Germany. Kneeling woman, her elongated body, tilted ad, an aura of modesty and calm create a privately expressionist form, which hovers between the classic and modern. 1911, cast stone. 7 by 142 by 69 centimeters, MoMA, New York, U.S. Franz Marc. B. Munich, 1880, D. near Verdun, 1916. For Franz Marc, art was a spiritual force that should oppose the corrupting nature of modern industrial society. He studied theology and philosophy before enrolling at Munich's Art Academy. Following visits to Paris between 1903 and 1907, Marc became influenced by Van Gogh and the Post-Impressionists. In 1909, he moved to Sindelsdorf in the Bavarian countryside, where, surrounded by nature, he confirmed his belief that only animals possess the qualities of purity and beauty he found lacking in his fellow human beings. Marc invested color with a specific significance: red for domination and yellow for sensuality, for example. He gradually simplified his style to a few bright colors and uncluttered composition. From 1911 to 1913, he was a leading member of the Der Blaue Reiter group. His work became more complex in construction after 1914, showing the influence of the Futurists and Cubism. Lifeline. 1880, born in Munich, the second son of a painter. 1903, visits Paris to study new art trends. 1909, moves to Sindelsdorf, Upper Bavaria, where a small, artists' colony forms. 1910, art dealer Bernhard Kohler guarantees Marc an income. 1916, dies in World War I at Verdun. The Red Bull. Living close to animals, Marc observed and sketched their mannerisms. Color and shape are reduced to bare essentials, with a series of curved lines defining the bull and the surrounding trees. 1912, oil on canvas, 34x43 cm, Pushkin Museum, Moscow, Russia. Closer look. Seeing red for Marc, every color had significance, with red representing not only the material world, but male domination, a fitting color for a bull. Fate of the animals in this haunting image of pain and fear, depicting all of nature succumbing to an apocalyptic destructive force. The fragmented forms show the influence of the Futurists. The right-hand section was repainted by Paul Klee after the work was damaged by fire. 1913, oil on canvas, 196 by 266 centimeters, Öffentliche Kunstsammlung, Basel, Switzerland. Is there any more mysterious idea for an artist than the conception of how nature is mirrored in the eyes of an animal? Franz Marc. A elephant, horse, and cow. By 1914, Marc's work had become influenced by Delaunay's type of abstraction Orpheism. Here, the animals serve more as a device for abstract patterning than suggesting emotionally expressive states. 1914, oil on canvas, 85 by 79 centimeters, private collection. August Macke. B. Mesquide, Westphalia, 1887, D. near Perdes-les-Hurles, Champagne, 1914. August Macke's art did not have the edginess of Die Brucke or the spiritual quest of Der Blaue Reiter. Instead, he portrayed affluent and fashionable middle-class society in and around Munich. His work quite often possessed a whimsical quality, such as in his pictures of bowler-hatted men feeding animals in a zoo, or of a finely dressed woman staring longingly at a display of hats in a shop window. The garden, the delicate use of color, and the criss-cross patterns suggest air and light, and are typical of his watercolor technique. 1914, watercolor on paper, private collection. Alexe von Jawlensky. Beetorshoek 1864, Die Wiesbaden 1941. A captain in the Russian army, Alexe von Jawlensky studied art part-time while a soldier, and made friends with Kandinsky before leaving to study art in Munich in 1896. He exhibited his work alongside the Fauve in 1905 and worked in Matisse's studio in 1907. From 1909 to 1914, he was based in Munich and painted landscapes while staying with Kandinsky in Murnau. Although he did not exhibit with their Blaue Reiter, he was broadly sympathetic to their aims. A head of a man, Alexander Sacharoff, drawn with a bold black outline, the subject's glance animates an almost sculptural portrait. Works like this replaced landscape as von Jawlensky's central theme. See 1911, Oil on Board, 54 by 50 centimeters, private collection.